Of course, we have to, considering that we all depend on the environment in the context of what went on today. We all depend on land, uh, providing us with food, water, with clean air. So therefore, and we all want to be comfortable and therefore developed, as we need to define that better. And so the links are very, very important. We just haven't been able to figure out how to respect the environment and the support that nature gives us and how that links to development. But I think we're getting to the understanding.
What has gone on over the past few decades? I guess I'm talking about the sort of progression of these huge super farms, cutting down trees, focusing on fertilizers, not just the last few decades, the last 4 or 5 decades. Has there been a kind of knowledge deficit? Have we lost our attachment with the planet?
Yes, and I think what has really gone on is that there was a knowledge disconnect. So there are many people who understood why trees are more valuable standing than being felled, but they weren't talking to the people who are felling them very quickly. And now what we have to do is really to link these different knowledge bases together and have the appreciation of nature in many places being left alone to provide us with the development needs that we need.
And a lot of the solutions outlined this morning, perhaps as simple as just planting the correct kind of trees next to certain crops, they seem very simple. So what's stopping us?
A holistic system thinking understanding is what's stopping us. And if we can get those messages out in a way that is simpler than what we have been doing up to now. For example, IUCN's philosophy, of course, is based on biodiversity conservation. But we're no longer afraid to say that what we're really about is nature-based solutions to human well-being or development, if you like. And for that, what we mean is human well-being in all parts of the world in an equitable manner for 9 billion people that we're going to have soon. So if we are ready to explain the knowledge that we actually do have in a simple way, which doesn't turn off the decision makers who may not have been trained in biodiversity conservation, then I'm quite convinced that we will get the message.
IUCN, I have no doubt, sort of interacts with the highest level policymakers and sort of leaders of states. Do you sense they're interested in these kind of solutions? You know, with all this focus on economic growth and having to provide, you know, good livelihoods for all of their subjects. Do you sense they're really interested in these kind of nature-based solutions?
One of the reasons why IUCN got very involved in the economics of ecosystems and biodiversity study, the TEEB study, is to try to put some sort of monetary value on the services that we receive from nature. Not to commoditize it, but simply to have the kind of people that you just mentioned understand it better. And I think with those tools, with numbers of how much it would cost to replace nature if we had to replace it, of how many people are directly affected by the solutions brought to nature, I think with those kinds of tools, we are able to get our messages across faster and better.
Final question, give me your vision for a farm in 20 or 30 years' time, because we've heard a lot about farming this morning. What will the farm of 20 to 30 years' time, what would it look like?
Well, it would have to rely on what nature provides it. So a farm 20 years from now is going to have to rely in a much more intelligent way on the microbes that are already in the soil that are providing it with health. You know, I was thinking this morning that maybe we should try to work on the next Nobel Peace Prize going to those unsexy parts of biodiversity, lichens, fungi, microbes, because they are really providing the health of the land that farmer is going to need to be able to feed his family or her family and the 9 billion other people living on this planet.
And I said that was a final question. I've got one more. In terms of this summit and in terms of what we might get out of it, are you confident that whatever decisions they reach here, those will be fully taken on board by governments around the world? Because it strikes me that many governments, they're not sending very high-level delegations here. They perhaps don't take the CBD summit as seriously as other environmental summits. Are you confident that the messages and all the discussions that we've had here will filter their way back to the decision makers?
I'll be able to answer that better on Friday, but I'm quite confident now that the messages are getting to the right people, because I'm hearing those messages now being put in much simpler language. Actually, it's a no-brainer. We all depend on nature, biodiversity, if you prefer that. We all depend on, including every single government leader that you're mentioning. So what we need to be committed to is to stop talking about these targets, but now talk about how we're going to implement them. I think that was the most important message from this morning.